Terrans were fools, and the Sol system was a dead zone. It was common knowledge to the Galactic Federation that Terrans were a weak, peaceful race. They stayed out of conflict, resolved everything with tight contracts, and generally were simply there. The only reason the Terrans weren't wiped out long ago was what the Federation deemed Terran radiation. Any ship within the Sol system, aside from Terran ships, went mysteriously missing, something the Federation at large believed was because of a unique radiation that the Terrans had adapted to and built their ships around, ensuring that they were fine in Terran space, but no other race was. Of course, there was an offshoot of conspiracy theories who looked at the footage of ships just before they were lost, examining every pixel for a hint of what was happening. It was always the same. Everything was fine until everything simply went black. No transition, just a blink and you'll miss it change to darkness. In the more high-tech ship logs, a few theorists found what looks like a massive snake's eye in the background, leading to the current theory aside from Terran radiation, that the Sol system was populated by a unique race of massive reptiles that humanity had befriended. It was time to find out which was true, I reflected, slowly piloting my ship into the Sol system. Hopefully the Terrans would call off their snakes if it was the latter. For most of the journey, the sunny day limped along with no interference, aside from the holes in her hull. When we reached the cradle of Terran civilization, however, we were held by a peculiar ship. Shaped like a snake's head, highlighted with blue-green, it was a massive thing, over a dozen times the size of the sunny day. Neither theories were right then, I thought, as the snake's head opened communication. It was the humans themselves, something that I barely comprehended in my shell-shocked state. "Surrender, or we will open fire," were the first words to come out of the commanding officer's mouth. She was dark-skinned, with black hair and green eyes, and too many scars to be a simple civilian. "This is human space. We will not tolerate interference with our home. We come in peace," I pleaded in response. "We have nowhere else to go. This ship, the Sunny Day, is our last remaining battleship from our fleet. I'm currently the only person able to operate the ship. My comrades are wounded." "Surrender, or we will open fire," comes the repeated command. "Disarm all your weapons, and we will allow you on board to heal, and find out what's going on. If it turns out you have been lying, well..." The human drew a finger across her throat. I instantly disarmed all the weapons, at least the still functional ones, and surrendered. The snake's mouth opened, revealing a docking port, and we were drawn into it by a tractor beam. The inside of the station was spacious and dim, steel and iron making up the majority of it. We were taken in by the humans, who examined us with weapons drawn, before taking all of us to the medbay. The last thing I saw before everything went black were strange machines beeping above me. When I wake up, the first thing I wonder is where I am. And then it hits me, like one of the Atarax's new juggernauts. We had lost. Lost against the Atarax, those planet-devouring beasts, and fled to the nearest space. The deadly system inhabited by weaklings, the Sol system. I despair. What could we do now? Our fleet was gone, my crew as good as dead. How could these Terrans heal antimatter bombs after all? I'm shocked out of my sinking thoughts by two words. "You're awake." The words flooded back the rest of my memories. The giant snakehead, something Terrans shouldn't be able to make, and being brought inside it. "Yes," I stutter, trying to sit up only to notice that I was strapped down. "Can't have you trying anything, can we?" comes the same voice, this time cynical and distrusting. At least our translation software seems to be working, though. I began to say something, but was cut off. "I'll be asking the questions here. Who are you?" I coughed. "Colonel Raxcor, of the now gone Imperial Fleet." "All right," the human says, releasing me from my constraints. Surprised, I turned to see the same human who held us on comms. How long ago was it? "Why did you release me?" I demand, confused. "Because you're no threat," the human grins at me. "If you were, you wouldn't be here. You'd be dead. Your ship's hull smoking outside like the ones chasing you." That surprised me even further. "The Atarax," I mutter. "Followed us?" I turned back to the human. "How did you defeat them? Those ships decimated our entire fleet in seconds." "You have a really crappy fleet then," the human replies. "I'm Captain Share of the Leviathan, the ship you're stationed on. Nice to meet you, Rax." "My name is..." I stop, sighing. This human, with so many emotions in so little time, was confusing. Never mind. Nice to meet you, Captain Shay, but how did you defeat the Atarex juggernauts? If I show you, you won't be able to return, classified and all that, Shay replies, before instantly grabbing me and dragging me out of the room, pointing things out on the way. That's the med bay we just exited. State of the art, your friends are all fine. That's the weapons wing, where we store all the, well, weapons. And on, until we reach what I assume is the control room. Well, Shay turns to me, back to being businesslike. We know everything that's happened to you. We went through the log, so don't try to lie. How many Atarex ships are there? A few dozen juggernauts and a few hundred destroyers, I ask, even more confused by this disappointing switch of emotions. All right, Shay replies, noting something down. How have they destroyed so much of the Federation? They're just too strong, I reply, shaking myself from confusion. Their antimatter missiles can tear through everything we have like paper and... I'm cut off by a massive explosion that rocks the entire ship. A Kong comes on, as the Atarex. Surrender, Terrans, comes the growling, barely legible words. We have your war surrounded by an entire fleet of our juggernauts, and this tiny satellite of yours stands no chance. Shay looks surprisingly calm for someone whose homeworld just got threatened. You dare? Again with the disjointed emotions, I reflect. You come here, to my home, and threaten my people. We stayed out of this war so far, not for our sake, but for yours. Unlike you, apparently, we prefer to avoid wholesale slaughter. The Atarex commander laughs. Humans, what can you do? You have no battalion, no fleet. No, Shay agrees. We only need the one. Reflected through the Atarex commander's comm screen, a ring of blazing blue-green flares around the Terran homeworld. A massive serpent-like ship, circling the entire planet. The satellite, which the Atarex commander believed to be the entire ship, no more than an eye of the snake's skull I witnessed earlier. All around the Leviathan, ports opened up as missiles, cannons, EMPs, you name it, bristle out of each of the 100 segments. I can't even think at this point. Too many changes in such little time, but apparently the Atarex commander has no such problem, as his eyes widen and it orders a retreat, but too late. A swarm of missiles erupt from Leviathan's segments, simply removing the entire fleet of Atarex that had come to take over the Terran homeworld. The massive ship begins to move, heading for what I assume is the Atarex homeworld. I take in my surroundings once more. Shay, the strange Terran, the massive ship, the entire Federation knew nothing about, the strange steel walls. Only destruction lies in Leviathan's wake.